This video is brought to you by people who like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You can also support my work by buying me a coffee. The Fellowship of Guelphissauga continues, with unsafe protests filling the streets with unsolved crimes. The Shire's police were kept busy this week on their overtime hours, dealing with the protests and finding the criminals. They had to deal with blocked highways, broken bus shelters, and of course, mischief. However, the police had a tough time using the colourful group flags to separate the safe and unsafe protests and the criminals from the non-criminals. Can Carly of Klassen and the Elder Elves do anything about the housing cost crisis? And will the unsafe protest crimes ever get solved? Since the break of dawn on Valentine's Day, a colourful wave of crime started spreading across the Shire. The local police were overloaded with calls the next day from local Karens as they complained about the 60 locations simultaneously hit the previous day. They were complaining about the several thousands of dollars of damage done to 60 bus shelters across the Shire. The bus shelters had their display cases broken into and replaced with graffiti and colorful drawings of flags. The police didn't know exactly who had shown up to do all the damage, so they started an investigation. Nothing much happened the next couple days as the police investigated the Tim Hortons downtown. But luckily, their luck turned around one night when they received calls from the neighboring Shire for support. The police in Waterloo called for backup with another flag-waving protest of similar colors. Over 100 people were blocking Highway 7, and some of them were throwing projectiles at the police. The Waterloo police had already arrested one man from Toronto for assault with a weapon. The Shire's police arrived just in time to disperse the crowd and investigate the event. They wanted to question the man from Toronto since his flag had similar colors to those painted on the damaged bus shelters. However, that's where the police's luck dried up. After questioning the arrested man from Toronto, they determined it wasn't him responsible for the 60 damaged bus shelters. The police also knew the criminal was still at large since they were getting consistent calls from a good Guelph citizen about getting death threats from a protesting man with a similar flag downtown. The last known location of the man was at another flag-waving protest at the Rainbow Crosswalk, so the police took note for their investigation. Based on the information at hand, they were looking for a criminal protester with a multicolored flag. The Shire's police drove past the downtown Tim Hortons and began searching for their man. The first protest the police passed after Tim Hortons was at the tent encampment downtown. But unlike the violent highway protest, this protest being led by Gregos of Dorval was peaceful and quiet. He was helping clean up the remains at the ruins of the tent fire downtown as the people living there escaped the cold. With the help of $633,000 given to the County of Wellington from the federal government, the majority of the homeless people downtown were sheltered indoors for the winter. They were offered free stays at the former Holiday Inn Express and at another homeless hotel in the Shire, which most of them gladly accepted. The police pulled up to the tent ruins and stayed in their heated cars while conducting their investigation. They asked Dorval and the few people there if they had seen their criminal and about their living situation. "I'm happy about it," one man replied, "but it's only a matter of time before it comes to an end. I'd be a lot happier if I knew exactly what was going to happen when the funding runs out. They can't just brush it under the rug like they've been doing." Francois of Dorval chimed in and told the police he hadn't seen anyone matching their description and suggested they look for someone protesting with a multicolored flag instead of someone protesting homelessness without a flag. The police drove off as they sipped their warm coffees in their seated heats. They continued their search at the next intersection down the road, where yet another protest was going on. This protest was being led by the tax sign guy, who was peacefully reminding everyone of the mayor's unaffordable planned tax increases for the next several years. The police questioned the tax sign guy about his colorful sign, but they eventually realized that his sign didn't have the same colors as those painted on the damaged bus shelters. They left the tax sign guy alone with his peaceful protest, and the police continued their investigation northward. Meanwhile, in the northern part of the dining district downtown, the mayor was ordering takeout for lunch. He intentionally ordered pickup so that way he could conveniently walk by the shrinking tent encampment downtown to take in the view. Even though the federal money that was used to book the rooms in the homeless hotel, the mayor wanted to find a way to take credit for it. As the police drove northward, they saw the mayor walking back with his takeout and stopped to chat with him. The police told the mayor they were busy investigating the 60 damaged bus shelters in the Shire, and they asked him what he thought about the crime. Not only will the taxpayers of Guelph now have to pay thousands of dollars and multiple repairs to these shelters, but some of these messages have clearly made people like they don't belong, the mayor groaned. "I stand with those harmed and stand against all forms of discrimination, and I'd ask the community to do the same," he added while eating his lunch. After the chats with the mayor and the tax sign guy, the police needed a refill of coffee. They had one last protest at the hospital to investigate, which was conveniently en route to the Tim Hortons on Speedvale. With a fresh coffee in hand, the police approached yet another protest happening in the Shire. This group didn't have any multicolored flags, so the police had a slim chance of finding their criminal, but they tried anyways. The protesters explained to the police that they were there calling out the hospital for all their secrecy over all their sudden deaths. The police realized quickly that these peaceful protesters weren't the criminals they were looking for, so they headed back to the station. When they arrived back at the police station, after the long day of investigating the bottom of a coffee cup, the police had one last Hail Mary in their search. Sitting in the jail cell was one lonely criminal who might be who they were looking for. But after hearing what they were caught for, stealing Pokemon cards, they knew it wasn't their fugitive. That was simply the local Pokemon card thief, out stealing cards again and collecting the most broken bail condition trophies. Maybe another day, the police will investigate the areas around the 60 crime scenes at each broken bus station instead of chasing coffee chatter around town. In the meantime, the Shire's police had stopped the unsafe protests, but the criminal protester still remains at large. They're enjoying their freedom, and possibly laughing it up somewhere with the off-leash dog puncher. Can Carly of Klassen and the Elder Elves do anything about the housing cost crisis? And will the Unsafe protest crimes ever get solved? Stay tuned here to see. This video is brought to you by brighttutoring.ca. Don't let school get in the way of your education. Book a tutoring session today at brighttutoring.ca.